What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your match of the day, Daily Progress for, I'm not going to say the date. I don't care. I said date. February 9th, 2017, 18, 19. I don't even know what year it is. Shit. It's your boy, Valencia Naito. We here, back in effect. So we got the match of the day. And speaking of this new beginning, Jay and I, we actually covered a previous new beginning match, that being Jay White taking on Kenny Omega for the United States Championship match here. And I thought, why not, since he's actually defending another title here, we might as well go ahead and cover a Tanahashi match, him defending the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And the match I chose right here was him versus AJ Styles, new beginning in Osaka. Pretty apropos, since they're going to be in Osaka for Monday for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match. So, Jay, how are you doing? How'd you feel about covering this match right here? And what were your thoughts? It's crazy watching a match when you watch it live or when the time's happening, and then when you go back and watch a match like this, like to see what's going on. So what were your first, takeaways when you saw this?
Well, when we decided that we were going to cover this one, I thought, well, okay, cool, Tanahashi and AJ, because I vaguely remembered the match, but I hadn't watched it in a while. And so going back and checking it out again, when you know where people ended up and you know how things played out after the fact, it just feels completely different, watching it, hearing what commentary's saying, all the things that are going on, because you know what happened, and at the time, you can't possibly know how everything is going to play out after this match is over. So that always feels a little weird, not in a bad way, but you watch it and it just feels like a completely different match, even if you remember what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only tying in with the match, but the stuff I was looking at, knowing what we know now, I was just looking at little stuff because, knowing how that Bullet Club is a different Bullet Club than what we know now. I was looking at certain members of this Bullet Club, and because they pretty much had everybody out there. AJ Styles, when he came out, he had Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Tama Tonga, Bad Luck Fale, and a young Bullet Club young boy, Cody Hall, which, man, I was like, wow, I forgot he was even there. I was like, Jesus. He was there, Kenny Omega, and both of the Young Bucks. So I kind of was just keeping my eye on those three guys to see what they were like doing as far as this match goes. And honestly, like when they were, doing the like introductions and stuff, like not knowing what I knew then, but knowing what I know now, Omega was pretty much showing his hand as early as this match of what he wanted to do.
How so?
I said, because when they do like the little, okay, they're holding, the championship belt up, like he give it to the ref, the ref shows it, he holds it up, shows it to the, the wrestler or whatever. Like AJ Styles, he touches it, he's like, okay, yeah, I can be. You just see Kenny Omega, he's like over on the side, it's like looking at it with these like wild eyes, it's like nodding up and down, like I'm just like, he's like, yeah, that looks good. I'm just like, I don't know if that was just him being like super animated like he normally is, or if that was just him like, yeah, like, all right, this is like some like seed planting type shit. Because it kind of looked like that to me, because he was just like, yeah, they look, because nobody else was doing that. Everybody else was like, okay, that's cool. Like, they're typing on him. He was like, yeah, that belt looks good right there. I mean, Wilt's, he's the junior heavyweight champion. So I was just like, oh, okay, that was kind of interesting right there to me. So, this match started off pretty slow. I'm not even going to lie. And it's pretty much Tanahashi staple. These matches are going to start off pretty slow. I think it probably start picking up when Tanahashi tried to do the first suicide dive on AJ Styles. AJ Styles missed him, or he missed AJ Styles, and then he actually tried to do a suicide dive out to the outside on AJ Styles' somersault, and he missed him right then. So it was pretty much the story I was getting from this match right here. They were selling that Tanahashi's getting his back damaged, and AJ was working the back pretty much the majority of this match right here. He hit him with numerous back breakers, and AJ Styles has pretty good back break. I was just like, damn, it seems like haven't really watched his matches in a while because, the company that he's in, but it's just like, damn, he has really good back breakers. And there's this little stuff that he does that are probably different from the form, because I think it's probably the easiest to compare him to, if you want to compare him to any Bullet Club leader, I think it's probably the easiest to compare him to, of course, Kenny Omega. And I think this is a little, when matching with him and Tanahashi, and the match with Omega and Tanahashi is definitely different than the match with AJ Styles and Tanahashi. But I think it just shows that damn, AJ is definitely fine with slowing things down, and I think he showed that here in the early outset of this match. Jay, what do you feel about that?
Well, definitely AJ is one of those guys that can do everything. I mean, he gets a lot of credit for being one of the most capable wrestlers in pretty much any style. And a lot of American fans think of him primarily as, the really athletic, acrobatic, high flying AJ Styles, because that was what he was for most of the time that he was in TNA. That's where a lot of the stuff that he's done in WWE that's gotten the most attention. But he does not have to do that to be amazing in the ring. He definitely can slow it down and just torture a body part absolutely thoroughly. And when he was doing that, all the backbreakers and just the targeting of the back. Yeah, the AJ versus Suzuki G1 match that everybody talks about, I kind of thought back to that a little bit when I was watching it, that, they had him be leader of Bullet Club, but you could have had an AJ Styles that was a lot more like Minoru Suzuki with very little effort. He might not be the submissions master that Zack Sabre Jr. is, but AJ can slow it down, tie you in a knot, isolate a body part, and torture you with it until you give up. And we see that pretty much every time he fights Tanahashi in some form or other. So yeah, definitely, he can be that guy.
Yeah, he adapts very well. I think that's one thing that people maybe forget about him that don't get to see him a lot is I was like, man, he adapts very well, and he adapted this match pretty well. The spot I think probably of the match, I don't know if you agree with me with this, but it was when Tanahashi went to do the high fly dive out onto all the members of Bullet Club after being, stomped by these guys, of course, because they all were stomping and interfering in this match. Let's not get it twisted that they weren't. But after getting stomped by these guys, of course, Tanahashi's going to want a little retribution. Why the hell would you not want a little retribution? So he goes and he does the high fly dive on pretty much all the Bullet Club. And, he takes them all out. But in the midst of him diving on all of the members of Bullet Club, he and Matt Jackson's heads pretty much collide. And after this, Tanahashi is busted open hard way. And it's pretty much just all in his eye. I think it was his left eye, I believe. It was just all in his eye. Like, Matt Jackson actually had a nice little cut, too. And it just showed me when you can just tell in wrestling when somebody gets cut when they bladed or when the hard way bust open happens. And I'm not even talking about the positioning of the, where the blood's coming from. What I'm talking about is when somebody blades, I feel like it's a lot more cleaner than when like a hard way is happening. Because like when somebody blades, it's like a nice clean stream. This is blood. When Tanahashi was bleeding right there, it was like blood splatters. You know what I mean? It was like blood, 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 blood. It wasn't like, okay, this is nice clean blood. It was like, no, it's bleeding right here. And yeah, this wasn't supposed to happen type shit.
Oh yeah, well it's like when Shingo got thrown headfirst into the barricade and the whole side of his head busted open. You just look at that and you think, that was unintentional. And this was one of those things that it was just one of those accidents that can happen in wrestling. And it definitely, well, at least I think it definitely was not part of the plan.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty gnarly after that, and hell, it was. Tanahashi was fighting an uphill battle with this match because he not only had to deal with the phenomenal with AJ Styles, he had to deal with the outside interference of Bullet Club, which he was pretty much fighting him off for the most part. But you can only fight him off for so long, and I think the ending sequence to me, when he was pretty much just desperately trying to bait the Styles Clash so many kind of ways, and it was just like he got it all. He evaded it twice, but I think this is one thing not a lot of wrestlers do, and I think that they maybe can even take from AJ Styles here and adapt something like this into their moveset or repertoire, whatever you want to call it. When Tanahashi, Jay, I know when you saw when he broke the Styles Clash the first 2 times, AJ Styles hit Tanahashi with pretty much that kneeling power driver, which they were calling I think they called it the hollow point at the time. They're calling it the hollow point, and I think that's something like it's pretty much like I'm trying to hit my finisher. I can't hit my finisher, but here is something that I can hit you with that's pretty much a prelude to my finisher. I think Jay White does it, but not a lot of other wrestlers do stuff like that.
No, it's a little thing, but it ends up being a big thing because not only are you really teasing the audience and guiding them along, oh, he hit that, you know what's next, but it's also a smart way to try to get your opponent, because if you hit your finishing move or you try to hit your finishing move and they get out of it, or you hit it and they kick out of it, it's not always the smart thing to immediately do that same thing again, especially if it's something that takes a lot of effort on your part, like a Styles Clash. You have to get them positioned right before you hit them with that. So it not only buys you some time, it damages your opponent even more. So whatever it is that you do, doing something is not a bad idea. And you're right, far too few people do it. AJ was always good at it. Jay White has mastered so many of the little things that a lot of guys either don't pay attention to or don't do consistently. And that's part of the reason that I like him as much as I do, is that kind of stuff with him is very consistent. And the same with AJ here. So yeah, very, very much in agreement that that's a smart thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like lets you know that they're smart as a wrestler, because you want to give other wrestlers something to think about when you're wrestling them. Of course, you want to have them think about the Styles Clash, but you got the hollow point. He's like, he's not thinking about getting dropped on his head right there. He's just thinking about trying to fight off the Styles Clash. You know what I mean? He's not thinking about, okay, he's going to just drop me on my head in a power driver type maneuver. So I thought that was really good. And also, too, with, I don't know, because I'm sure it's very different with WWE, how he wrestles there, but AJ Styles' ending sequences in New Japan, because watching this match just reminded me how good he was in New Japan. I don't think it's really fair to compare him nor Kenny Omega's run as far as them being the quote unquote guy, because I think their ending sequences are very different. It was just pretty much like, I feel like without being too judgmental, I feel like a lot of the times Kenny Omega was doing moves just to pretty much win because he could, because he's that good of a wrestler. And this just to do them. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do this move because it just kind of looks cool and I'm just going to do it. I feel like when AJ Styles putting this finishing sequence together, whatever moves it's more or less of a decisive thing that, like, I'm doing these moves because I need to put this dude away. That's how I felt with Tanahashi anyway with this match.
Well, AJ does some moves that look really cool. He always has. But there's definitely no comparison between AJ Styles and Kenny Omega if you had to pick who is the flashy one, the one who, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, the one who does stuff for show because it looks cool. Yeah, AJ was more efficient, I guess.
Yeah.
In the way that he would put move sequences together. It might not be the flashiest thing, but it's going to put you down. And Kenny, yeah, he could put you down, but it would probably take longer because he's going to do fancier, flashier, more big stage kind of stuff. Which is not to say that Kenny couldn't be efficient in his move sequences. He could. It just wasn't, that was not his thing. That was not his bread and butter as a wrestler.
And also, too, watching this match, and as, because, of course, we know Kenny, he's, I don't want to say, I think a high flyer is a bad connotation. But if you just look at this match, and I was looking at the moveset that AJ Styles is utilizing as opposed to the moveset that Kenny Omega used, like AJ Styles is more or less using these high fly maneuvers, quote unquote, out of necessity once again. And I feel like once again, I hate to even go back to it. Like Kenny's like, I can do like a tope con hilo just because I can do it because I'm super athletic. Like, and he just does it. And like he doesn't even necessarily need to do those moves in that match. But I kind of feel like AJ Styles needed to do those moves, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, if he felt like, all right, this hadn't worked, I'm doing this because I don't see any other option. That feels totally different when you're watching a match as opposed to, I'm going to do this thing, because I can and it looks good. And so as far as the way AJ handled Tanahashi in this match, the style that he uses is very suitable to him just, as a person and a wrestler. He's got crazy mad ninja athletic skill, does AJ Styles, but at the same time, he's very, down to earth, grounded. What is the point here? What am I trying to do? How do I get the job done? 1, 2, 3, go. And you could see that in the choices he made with when he did high flying stuff and when he just decides to destroy your back or your knee and twist you up like a pretzel.
So then we get Styles Clash. He finally hits him with the Styles Clash, puts Tanahashi away, gets a second IWGP Heavyweight Championship reign. And is it like, honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, this post-match stuff kind of like brought a smile to me because you got Machine Gun working a stick, he's working the mic, and I'm just like, oh, this is classic Bullet Club right here. You got Machine Gun pretty much putting every member over. This is going through the whole gambit of what you like. Oh, this is what this dude's name is, and this is what he does type situation. And I loved it. I was like, damn, this is probably my favorite era of Bullet Club because I just think this is when they were firing on all cylinders, and this is my personal opinion. I mean, I know other people love different eras, but I think this is the era that I feel was probably the best. And hell, even in this match, I still kind of felt like it was some of the same era we got now because you had the heel tactics, you had the interference, so it's pretty much some of the same. And we kind of, with the certain Elite era, we kind of missed that with the Bullet Club because I think they were missing what Bullet Club was ultimately about. But that's not what this show is about. This show is about this match, and I think this match was a great match. This match is a great match. It started off slow, but when you have two fucking phenomenal wrestlers, hate to use the pun right there, two phenomenal wrestlers like AJ Styles and Hiroshi Tanahashi, that's what you're going to get. I don't think the interference hurt the match here. I think because how the Bullet Club is or was at the time, I think the interference actually helped, and it told the story with the AJ Styles and Tanahashi. It just added that much to it. So that's ultimately what I think about it. Jay, what are your last thoughts on this epic encounter between two legends here, Tanahashi and AJ Styles?
Well, despite understanding what that incarnation of Bullet Club was all about, when I first watched that match, I hated all the interference so much. I'm sitting there going, damn it, enough, quit that. And, that's the point. But at the same time, fitting that match and all of the stuff that happened into the big picture of not just the title scene, but what all of those guys were going to be doing in New Japan for the next however long, that's what they needed. And, looking back on it, you can't really criticize any of it, though, as a fan at the time, you could totally criticize it because, hey, that's not what I watch New Japan for. And, yeah, we know that's the point. So, yeah, you can still see it and at the same time kind of not want to see it.
Yeah, I can see how you can be on the fence about that a little bit. It could take away from, but I just felt like that's how they were at the time. And, I was just like, oh, yeah, AJ Styles is the champ. Machine Gun, because Machine Gun Carl Anderson was probably my favorite wrestler in New Japan at the time, at that point in time, 4 years ago, because super underrated guy. As you can see, if you didn't see the post-match stuff, you can see it. And also, too, like, when they went backstage and we're still talking right there, like, I'm just gonna call this speaking out of turn Kenny Omega, because they're like, oh, AJ, he's like, oh, I'm just a two-timer here, you know, two-time IWGP, you know, champion. Then Kenny Omega's like, you're not a two-timer, AJ. And then I'm like, how are you not getting what they were trying to reference? This is how he just, I'm like, Geek, stop. Just stop it, Geek. And he's like, no, I mean, but you're like a good guy. And I was like, oh, you're so. He's like, AJ goes, well, obviously, duh. It's like, obviously, I'm a good guy. There was no question about that one. But yeah, actually, if you haven't seen this match, I would recommend you guys go watch it, because New Beginning being, you know, a couple of days away, if you want to, you know, salivate your appetite for an IWGP Heavyweight Championship match featuring the current champion, Hiroshi Tanahashi, might as well check it out. And I think we said this off air. Shit, Tanahashi has his championship record here at New Beginning is not very good. Matter of fact, it's just flat out fucking awful. It's just because, all right, 2012, he lost to Okada, dropped the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to Okada. Here, 2015, he dropped the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to AJ Styles. 2016, he lost the IWGP Intercontinental Bacon title match to Kenny Omega. 2017, what did he do? Did he have a championship? No. In 2017, I think he was kind of hurt, because that's when he lost to Naito at Wrestle Kingdom, so he didn't wrestle there. Last year, he dropped the IC belt to Suzuki, so he's pretty much 0-4 in championship matches here in New Beginning. So
I don't know if the commentary team has pointed that out, but I knew it was something like that. So yeah, that'll be interesting if that continues.
So it's just like Tanahashi's 0-for right here. So will that continue? Will he finally get off the snide and pick up one fucking championship and win? You'll find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. But until then, you know, that's it. We covered the main event match of the New Beginning in Osaka. Guys, we hope you enjoyed the review here. We enjoyed the match. So, Jay, is there anything you like to say before we get up out of here, talking about going in the Wayback Machine, the way back 4 years ago in New Japan, which was a much different time than what it is right now?
It was a different time, and you know, pretty much that you know, if you haven't seen this match, or if you haven't seen it lately, it's worth your time to go back and check it out, because not only are you going to see a very different company, you know, until very, very recently, you would have seen a very different Bullet Club, because it has not always been the way that a lot of people are used to. And some of the things that people are currently saying that they don't like about the current incarnation of Bullet Club, you'll see that those things were in place a long time ago.
Exactly. It wasn't all about, for Bullet Club anyway, it wasn't all about changing the world. It was about being fucking heels and being too sweet and being real and all that shit. So you heard it from us. Find us at SOS Wrestle Talk, Wrestle Party, Wrestle Gang. I went ahead and tweeted something. I was like, hey, we are not these people. So just remember, I went ahead and tweeted that out. But yeah, so Jay, thank you for spending a nice chunk of your Saturday evening with me. I know you got some shit to go handle, so I'm not going to keep you too long. So yeah, you know where you can find us at SOS Wrestle Talk, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, YouTube, all that good shit. So yeah, appreciate y'all listening. Jay, appreciate you coming on. Until y'all hear our voices next time, please be kind to each other. And most importantly, though, until y'all hear our voices, just wait for it. Tranquilo.